We begin with breaking news. A few moments ago, a US immigration judge has ruled that the Trump administration's deportation case against pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil can move forward. Well, we can speak with Shihab Rattansi, who is live for us outside the Immigration Detention Center in Jazeera, Louisiana. Now, this has just happened, Shihab. So the judge has ruled that the deportation case can go ahead.
Mahmoud Khalil is removable, in the opinion of the judge. She said that the letter that the Secretary of State sent to the court detailing the reasons for the removal were reasonable. The letter Secretary of State explaining the reason is reasonable. The DHS, so the Department of Homeland Security, has met its burden, she said. However, Khalil is open to a relief application on April the 23rd. And there was a discussion of whether he be deported to Syria or Algeria. So these are the notes, the little clips that we have. No electronic devices were allowed in the courtroom. Khalil, we are told, was calm throughout the proceedings, and he did address the court. He said nothing is more important than due process and fundamental fairness. Neither of these principles were present. This is why the Trump administration sent me to this court thousands of miles from my family. So this is all hinging on a letter that the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was ordered to send to the judge to explain why, in the Secretary of State's opinion, his personal judgment, Khalil, his presence in the United States was fundamentally detrimental to the foreign policy goals of the United States. Rubio didn't give any concrete evidence, any evidence whatsoever, really, of wrongdoing. But what he said was he accepted that in the act Rubio is using, the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Foreign Policy Deportation Grounds clause, which was added specifically to protect people from deportation for constitutionally protected freedom of speech and freedom of association, he accepted that there was that safe harbor for freedom of speech and free association. He accepted in the letter that Khalil has done nothing illegal in the past or potentially in the future. But what the letter said was, I have made the personal determination that Khalil's presence is against our foreign policy objectives. And then Rubio cited the foreign policy objective of eradicating anti-Semitism around the world. He said that the anti-genocide protests at Columbia University, he characterized those as anti-Semitic. He said that they created an unsafe environment for Jewish students at Columbia University. And therefore, given that these protests, he was arguing, were fundamentally anti-Semitic, obviously we were all there, we know that these were anti-genocide protests, plenty of Jewish students were there. Because these protests, in his view, were anti-Semitic, therefore Khalil should be deported. That's it. No evidence of any wrongdoing on Khalil's part was presented.
Shihab, this seems that this will be, in many analysts' opinion, a landmark case because it seems to be at the heart of the Constitution with the right to expression of opinion, and then on the other side, the safety, as the US administration would argue, the safety of the United States and their defence. So what does this mean going forward for other cases and other people like Khalil?
Well, going forward now, so much relies on the appeal. Clearly, there will be appeal. Khalil is eligible for a relief application on April the 23rd. So this isn't over by a long shot. There will be more appeals. This legal process will continue. And that's one of the reasons, perhaps, why we're in Louisiana right now. Khalil was arrested in New York. He was briefly detained in New Jersey, so that's where actually the federal legal case about the constitutionality of Khalil's arrest is taking place, in New Jersey. But what the government did was they quickly and secretly bundled him off to this deportation center in Louisiana, instituted deportation proceedings under the the Immigration and Nationality Act, in order to get a parallel process underway. And therefore, to have this legal process take its course in in a circuit court arena, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, if it gets that far, which is thought to be way more conservative, which is way more conservative than the arena in New York, the First Circuit Court, where any appeals will end up, which is thought to be more liberal. So you can see that the government always had a long-term plan. This is a long-term test of the limits of this administration's authority to deport any non-US born person in the country, permanent resident, perhaps eventually by implication naturalized citizen, without presenting any evidence, but on the say-so of the Secretary of State, that that person is detrimental to the US's foreign policy goals in the future. It's enormous. So, for example, because that would suggest then that, Marco Rubio could say, well, this person is against our universal tariffs on the entire world. That's our foreign policy goal. He hasn't done anything wrong. He may not do anything wrong, but his presence here is detrimental to our foreign policy goal of blanket tariffs on the rest of the world. Where does it end? Yeah. First, they came for the anti-genocide protesters. Who's next?
Shihab, I just want to ask you, do you think that there is any chance that Khalil could be deported before the appeal takes place, if that does go ahead?
Well, ordinarily, I'd say no. There's an injunction on his deportation from the federal court in New Jersey. He's not to be deported while those proceedings are underway. But we've seen this administration ignoring court directives and deporting people anyway. They are testing those limits. But so I can't possibly say right now. But technically, no. Legally, no.
Okay.
Whether that actually is what happens, I can't say.
OK, no, we appreciate you addressing that. Our correspondent, Shihab Rattansi, outside the immigration centre that was hearing the hearing on Mahmoud Khalil. Thank you.